Hello, my name is Cornelio. I'm the program leader for the Helios experiment that's called dreaMS. dreaMS is a cost-efficient digital health platform that is based on the concept of remote patient monitoring and has telehealth capabilities. Both mean that the patient can basically support their treatment from home, so it doesn't always have to come to the doctor or to the hospital. dreaMS supports clinical management of patients with MS using data that is generated by a smartphone and wearable. And the objective is to track their symptoms and disease progression. The data that is generated is translated into clinically useful information using a combination of proprietary and non-proprietary algorithms, and that is presented to the doctor on a cloud-based dashboard. So in summary, dreaMS has 5 components: the mobile application on the smartphone of the patient, the cloud-based dashboard where the results are presented to the doctor, server and databases to store the data and to translate the data into clinical insight using the algorithms, a telehealth platform, video conferencing, if you will, and an interface or API to connect all of those components and to also allow integration with other components in the healthcare system. What we're aiming for with dreaMS is to provide a better insight in the patient symptom developments than is currently possible with the existing means. And dreaMS will therefore improve routine in clinical practice, optimize the time that a neurologist spends with an MS patient because they know which ones need most of the time, or most of the care. And that in turn then results into savings for the patient because they don't always have to come to the hospital, for the hospital because they know where to focus their time, and then ultimately also for the insurance companies or the health care sector. For this experiment, Helios has a consortium agreement with 2 organizations. One is the data science team of Professor Sebastian Ventura of the University of Cordoba, and the other one is with Fibico, which is the research unit that is connected to the University Hospital of Cordoba, and through which we have the contact with the neurologists, Dr. Eduardo and Roberto, and also access to the patients with MS. And a few months ago, outside of the consortium agreement, we have added a data engineering team from the University of Malaga, also in Spain, because we had identified a gap in physics experience and data engineering, and that's where we found it. Our opinion on the Diatomic project is what the support and the requirements from the Diatomic project have really helped us focus on dreaMS as a priority project, which it is. And to make sure that we dedicate enough internal and external resources to make this happen. The access to the coaches that Diatomic provides has helped us to develop the core capabilities that are needed for this experiment. And they are helping us to develop and implement a solution from a technical point of view, and also go to market. During the boot camp in Athens, there was a discussion on the level of support expected from the Diatomic team. I personally agree with the response from Diatomic management at the time that it's responsibility for the experiment to take initiative and come up with ideas and reach out to the coaches if needed. Diatomic provides a framework for supporting coaching, but there is a certain level of maturity that is expected from the experiments themselves. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to stand on our own feet after the support is gone. So far, we found that the coaches have been very responsive and clear in their feedback, including also indicating where they cannot provide input. Most important in the support provided, I guess the main realization is that it pays off to get somebody else involved to challenge our stories and plans and approaches, especially for us as a small company. With a small team that's worked together for quite a while, there are limitations in what you can do in terms of critical assessment and validation internally. and there's a high risk of confirmation bias. And having the opportunity to bounce off ideas with somebody from outside of the organization is important. And in the context for those people, for the coaches in this context, it's important that the person has a critical mindset and is also equipped to challenge in a constructive manner. Those people, though, don't always have to be sort of completely knowledgeable in the field of the fields that we're working in. Sometimes quite the opposite. Having had input from sort of outside fields has been really refreshing, especially in healthcare, because there's a tendency to stick to tried and tested routines. Our feedback on the bootcamp. That was a good mix of general advice for a number of areas, so the presentations and exchanging ideas with colleague experiments, and then the challenge and support from the coaches, in particular Tim and Joao. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend the first day of the bootcamp, so I missed that. In my view, there was probably a bit too much time for free discussion, which leads to people checking emails and calls, including myself. And that is somewhat distracting from the reason why we were there in Athens. For me, such a bootcamp might be a bit more intense, but that may be a personal preference. And the great thing, of course, from talking to other experiments is that you get great ideas, and as mentioned earlier, often from the areas where you wouldn't expect it. So we've had some very interesting discussions over coffee and in the breaks. Our perspective for the coming months, it is a roller coaster. The potential benefit and the interest from other parties in dreaMS is a lot bigger than we had initially realized. And so the program has expanded both in scope and in reach. We've already had a significant interest from a number of neurologists, from MS patient associations, researchers, pharma industry. And we're currently in final discussions with 2 global pharma companies for multi-year agreements. During the project, and with the increased interest and scope, what we have realized though is that from a technical and regulatory aspect, it's a lot more complex than we had thought, also because we are making it more complex, and that more work is required in those areas. So I mentioned before that we have added a collaboration with the University of Malaga for data engineering, and we're also firming up our regulatory roadmap for this experiment. So the focus of the coming months is really on finalizing the contracts with these pharma companies, updating our project plan and the timelines for the experiment. And so in our case, the customer successes come before the project is technically ready, which is a pleasant surprise because it adds a lot of comfort and excitement to the team. And it also puts a nice pressure on the team to deliver on our promises. As a conclusion, I'd like to really thank the Diatomic team for making this happen and for your role in the success story. Thank you.